Yeah, so the sort of dream of seeing rhinos back in Loisaba began for me personally about 30 years ago, when I first got a job at Loisaba Conservancy, and I understood that there had been a lot of rhinos there prior to the sort of 1970s, when there was a massive poaching crisis that saw Kenya's black rhino population drop from probably 20,000 animals in the late 60s right down to less than 300 by the time we got into the 1980s.
So the sort of investment that Pejeta has made in the rhino population has seen that growth steadily around 9% per annum on average, and consequently over time the population becoming the largest in Kenya and East Africa. And therefore, having grown at that rate at some point, based on science, it was understood that Pejeta hit its carrying capacity.
So it became apparent under the Black Rhino Action Recovery Plan that more space was needed for eastern black rhino and southern white rhino in Kenya, which is why Loisaba put its hand up at that time, 2018, 2019, and said, we're ready, we'd like to have some rhinos back in this landscape. The journey really started with a letter to the Kenya Wildlife Service requesting to become a rhino sanctuary.
So Loisaba was taken through a very well documented, strategically laid out criteria for determining whether or not they were ready. And every one of those boxes had to be ticked.
I'll say habitat assessments were done. So the browse, the quality of water was looked at. Then in terms also of security, there are security assessments that were carried out.
And we began the translocation in middle of January 2024.
I think one other thing people never mention is that whole journey from here all the way. You have to do regular stops and check on the animals. And it can be very, not stressful, but you just have to keep on monitoring to ensure that they are awake, that they are fine physiologically.
When the rhinos arrived at Loisaba, the crate that is carrying them is lifted off the lorry and it's put on the ground. Some of them will stick around and try to knock on the crates, but some of them will just look around the new place and then just run off.
Then we had challenges with lan when the first arrivals, because the rhinos came from places where they knew about lans, but the lans at Loisaba had never seen a rhino. So they thought it was prey. And we had an incident where one of the rhinos was attacked quite badly by lan, and the second one was also wounded.
And that necessitated that the vet would be there to treat the wounds and check on the management.
The net result was that they were protected, and some lans were translocated as a result, but the rhinos remained safe.
The security now, being at the rhino, is an endangered species. When they bring in the eastern black rhino, now the security now is becoming more vigilant, because as you are aware that is something in very sensitive and so on. So now I can say that my security now is bigger. Is bigger, doing patrols. By vehicle, by foot, by aircraft, by airfield.
I can say that there was enormous buy-in from the community, make sure that they were fully on board and informed about bringing this megafauna back to the area. Really, it's been a real highlight to see how well they settled down. We've since had 2 births already. We've seen a lot of mating, and the rhino body condition are all in the top end of the range. So at the end of the day, from my perspective, it's a real testament to conservation success if you can successfully reintroduce a megafauna to an area where it's been absent for about 50 years. It means that something's still right.